Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing, nonprofit, educational, or personal use, tips a balance in favor of fair use. Okay, you guys, this is from McGill University. It's in Montreal, Canada. Very reputable college, by the way. This anti-drug pamphlet has a hidden motive. A pamphlet that purports to share with teenagers, the truth about drugs is a gateway to a disreputable organization. By Jonathan Jerry, M.C. I think maybe that's like social work in Canada, just guessing. Masters, 18 November 2022. Critical thinking. It was inside a tiny restaurant on Clerk Street in Edinburgh, Scotland, that I spotted the pamphlets. I was waiting for my meal sitting in front of a narrow ledge that served as both a table and an area to drop off promotional items for local businesses. Near my placement was a pile of these pamphlets, and they boldly declared the truth about drugs. Should really look into this, LAPD, since you keep buying all these drug-free program BS. I flipped through one of them. It was printed on cheap newspaper stock. Its unnerving photos of drug-addled teenagers in syringes, that's fear-mongering, were rendered in shades of blue-green that reeked of despair. Whether you were interested in cocaine, cannabis, or alcohol. Yeah, by the way, a lot of the Scientology children at the ranch were probably doing that as well to escape. Armed with this information, it concluded at the back, the reader can make the decision to live a drug-free life. Don't you just love that? They try to make everyone think that they've got free will. This booklet, which is available in many languages, was produced by the Foundation for a Drug-Free World, which also released a digital copy of it. While reading this pamphlet may lead you to assume it came from well-intentioned people who simply want to protect our youth, there is a more sinister angle not explicitly mentioned in the pages of The Truth About Drugs. When looking up on Google Maps the street address that is listed on the website of the Foundation, I was led to the corner of Hollywood Boulevard, and Ivar Avenue in Los Angeles. Atop the massive pillars propping up the edifice, tall letters spelled out, the L. Ron Hubbard Life Exhibition. I had arrived at one of the many buildings belonging to the Church of Scientology. Scared straight. The origin story for Scientology was devised by its founder, L. Ron Hubbard, a prolific pulp fiction writer who still holds the Guinness World Record for most published works by one author, allegedly, 1,084. This creation myth used to only be revealed to members at the upper levels of the organization, but has since been leaked, raising a few eyebrows along the way. 75 million years ago, the story goes, there was an ancient civilization looking very much like 1950s America and controlled by supreme ruler Xenu. He must have been listening to, L. Ron Hubbard must have been listening to Olivia Newton-John. Or wait, no, she sung Xanadu. Never mind. This tyrannical overlord had many of his people flown to a prison planet, Earth. I happen to believe that Earth is a prison planet, where their frozen bodies were dropped from space planes and into volcanoes. Hydrogen bombs were exploded on top of each volcano, and the spirits from these slaughtered aliens, Thetans probably, freely and started leaping inside our human bodies, becoming like souls. These spirits, known as Satans, are blamed by Scientology for our fears and neuroses. Yeah, L. Ron Hubbard would know about that, wouldn't he? But we can allegedly be cleansed of them through a number of interventions. Yeah, you'll have to pay a lot of money for it too, that have been denounced by former members. You know who doesn't get to denounce, though? The children don't. Scientology has funded anti-drug campaigns and substance use programs, chief among them Narconon, which, despite its name, has no relation to Al-Anon or to Alcoholics Anonymous. It's another cult. Just see Daniela Mestenik. While interviewed on the Indoctrination podcast, Narconon's former president, Lucas Catton, revealed that the program outreach to school students categorized all drugs as poisons. Yeah, L. Ron Hubbard would know, wouldn't he? That big cupboard full of drugs he had. It was pushing the idea of making children sort of become anti-medicine, anti-doctors, and anti-psychiatrists. Yeah, all mandated reporters. Pharmaceuticals were put in the same box. The message was that if you take too much aspirin, for example, it could kill you. Technically true, but it emphasizes small risks in the name of scaring young, impressionable minds away from drugs entirely. They're actually trying to get to the children as well. This scaremongering attitude is on full display in the Truth About Drugs booklet. You know, all propaganda is. In which we are erroneously told that drugs are essentially poisons, and that painkillers, tranquilizers, L. Ron Hubbard did a little bit of all of this. Antidepressants, sleeping pills, and stimulants may appear safe because doctors prescribe them, but they can be just as addictive and potent as the heroin or cocaine sold on the street. L. Ron Hubbard would know all about that. Cannabis does not escape from being painted as a villain. The booklet mentions that kids who use marijuana are 5 times more likely to steal. Can you imagine Scientology saying this? As much as they steal, that's like part of their everyday life. And I know there's coercion, but come on now. That kids who use marijuana are 5 times more likely to steal and almost 4 times more likely to act violently. Oh yeah, there's no violence in Scientology. Please. Or damage property. Yeah, they're good at that as well. All the fair gaming people. These figures are offered here without references. Elsewhere. Of course they are. They are sourced to the 1998 version of the National Survey on Drug Use and Health, released by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Data Archive. Based on self-reports, weekly cannabis users were found to be 5 times as likely as non-users to say they stole from places other than home. And teenagers aged 12 to 17, those are primary ages where they try to recruit Sea Org members. And that when Debbie Cook got recruited, she was like 14. That's what they do. They go out to the schools. FBI seems to be okay with it. Homeland Security seems to be okay with it. Police officers around the world just think it's just the greatest. Bet they don't put their own kids in it. Three or more times more likely than non-users to say that they had, in the past year, purposely damaged property that wasn't theirs. The problem here is in jumping the gun from correlation to causation. These self-reports do not show that cannabis causes criminal behavior. In fact, the two could be correlated because of risk factors that affect both. Low socioeconomic status. Well, Scientologists that get paid $47, I think it's a month. And a lot of times they don't even get full pay. Jenna Miscavige and Aaron Smith-Levin were explaining that you don't always get the pay. You might get partial pay or half pay. I'd say that puts you in a lower socioeconomic class. Tom Cruise is all about it. Poor achievement in school. Oh, like that, their children in the Scientology even go to schools. I mean, the public, some of them do, but a lot of the Scientology children, they lock up at the ranches and the Delphian schools where children get sexually abused. It's public record. Poor family relations. Can you imagine? Oh, it's just so sickening. For example, to fail to mention this important hole in our understanding serves to paint cannabis as a boogeyman. It also fails to distinguish between heavy adolescent marijuana users and occasional users, who are very different in many ways. Yeah, it says from people that smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day. And some of the parents buy their children their own cigarettes. We're not far from the propaganda of 1936's Reefer Madness, in which cannabis was called a violent narcotic. Yeah, now they're selling it to us. Not me. You guys know what's up. Whose consumption would often end in incurable insanity. They would know. In the booklet's monochromatic photos of a homeless man, oh, like Serge Oblensky? Oh, wait, no. Serge, he doesn't have his hands anymore. Poor thing. Homeless man clutching his bottle of booze, and a girl huddled up in a corner in the fetal position, also reek of the scared straight approach. The idea behind scared straight is that exposing at-risk youth sorry, guys. To the realities of prison will convince them to stay away from criminal activities in general. But studies have shown that this approach, which emphasizes the severity of the punishment, backfires and makes it more likely they will commit future offenses and go to jail. Yeah, like Scientologists go to jail. Come on now. They'd be harboring felonies in there. They'd be harboring criminals. All with LAPD and all these other police officers that help them to harbor the pedophiles. It's on record, man. Can't dispute all the records. It's on record. In the context of drug use, specifically fear-based appeals and public service announcements have shown mixed results, and many experts have made the point that tapping into a fear of consequences can create resentment and stigma. Stigmatizing substance use can make it harder for someone dealing with a substance use disorder to seek help. Yeah, and then there's Narconon. They sure not prey on the vulnerable. If scaring teenagers away from drugs is unlikely to be particularly effective, what has research shown does work to reduce harm? Fully vetted. Even when putting the fear factor aside and looking at mass media campaigns aimed at reducing illicit drug use in general, it is hard to draw conclusions on their effectiveness, in large part because of how different these campaigns are. In a 2015 summary of the evidence, 8 mass media interventions showed no effectiveness, 4 were beneficial, and 2 seemingly backfired and were associated with an increase in drug use. Yeah, you got to go to the cause of it. Ain't rocket science, man. Many of these campaigns, as well as school programs, address substance use as something that must be avoided, if not outright shunned. It is a top-down approach wielded by figures of authority and constitutes, as 2 researchers put it, a form of denial by adults. Oh, where have we seen that before? About the actual behaviors of teenagers and young adults. Oh no, in Scientology, I forget, the adult males love to marry the little girls. They like that. And then even when they get out, they marry 30-year younger women. Probably break up their marriages too. Substances like drugs and alcohol are framed as solutions to distress, and their use as momentary lapse in judgment. More reasonable campaigns have aimed for harm reduction through the provision of information. I want to make it abundantly clear that I am not claiming that cannabis, alcohol, and hard drugs like cocaine are harmless. Addiction is very real. Alcohol is a known cancer-causing agent, and even smoking cannabis, an activity that has been normalized in many countries and is sometimes claimed to have near miraculous health benefits, can increase your chances of developing lung problems. But attempting to scare teenagers and young adults away from substance use, that's not the whole reason they're doing this. They're trying to recruit, so that the teenager comes to them for help. They put them in Narcanon and all this stuff, charge the parents money. It's a scam. And when in a panic, we reach for any kind of material to help sell our message. Yeah, vulnerable. Catholics been doing it for centuries. Material like the Foundation for a Drug-Free World's Truth about drug pamphlet, it can lead to unforeseen consequences. In 2017, a high school in Santa Monica, California, scrapped its anti-drug program. Listen to that, LAPD. After 3 assemblies had already been held. The reason, parents learned that the program was led by the Foundation for a Drug-Free World, which is affiliated with the Church of Scientology. A district spokesperson told CBS News that the school principal had fully vetted this organization. Unless you think people know better now, the foundation participated in a back-to-school event last August. A great way to find new Sea Org members to do more manual labor. Or perhaps they're looking for new young wives. Maybe a foreign girl, so they can marry the young girl, get her the green card, which is immigration fraud as well. Not to mention abusive. A gathering that was organized by Washington, D.C.'s Deputy Mayor for Public Safety. The report published by the Associated Press, which is actually a press release from the foundation itself, captions a photo from the event thusly: kids are excited to receive free backpacks filled with school supplies and get drug education materials which arm them with tools against dangerous drugs. Do you give that to the children in the RPF as well? Inquiring MF minds want to know. The self-promoting article reveals, toward the end, its ties to the Church of Scientology and claims that its Truth About Drugs program is one of the world's largest non-governmental drug education and prevention campaign. It certainly reached me all the way over in Scotland, but like reefer madness, it should be called out for what it really is: propaganda, facts. Take-home message. The Truth About Drugs pamphlet is made by the Foundation for a Drug-Free World, which is affiliated with the Church of Scientology. Wonder if the LAPD is affiliated with this. I'm just bringing that question, because they had some type of when I was watching one of those videos with, I believe it was LA Audit, and then there were a few people that went up there, Streets LA went up there. There was some kind of booth for cops to sign, for drug-free life with their, something about a drug-free life for their children or something. So the cops really need to research. Come on now. It uses scary images and unsourced claims to convince teenagers to stay away from drugs, including pharmaceuticals. Fear-based anti-drug campaigns have showed mixed results and can create stigma, which makes it harder for people with a substance use disorder to seek help. Also, too, there are certain young individuals who need antipsychotic medications if they have any psychotic mental disorders like schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder, all these various disorders in which they are experiencing auditory hallucinations, visual hallucinations, or anything like that. They refuse to let the child or the young adult go and get the medications and mental health treatment that they seek. And it often ends in bluicide or taking family members' lives. There was a child Scientologist. Well, he was a young adult Scientologist. Can't remember if he was 18. You know, they probably had to fudge that record. But his mother refused to give him permit. Well, she refused to let him go to the mental health clinic where they'd already diagnosed him as psychotic. And the final straw for him was when she took his MP3 player that had his music. Like, that was all he had. And he lost it, and he stabbed her to death. And there's quite a few cases like this, similar. So anyways, that's it. I'll leave the link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Otherwise, have an amazing day or night wherever you are. Peace.